So I don't even know where to start, but I need to get this off my chest. I'm Henry, 34, and I've been married to Gina, 32, for 8 years. Honestly, I thought we had a good thing going. You know, the usual ups and downs, but nothing that made me question our whole relationship. Joke's on me, I guess. I met Gina through this tight group of friends she's known since college: John, Marcy, Ben, and Liz. I got pulled into their circle after we got serious, and over time, they became my friends too. We did everything together: weekend BBQs, holidays, even helped each other move. They were like family. John and Marcy were the perfect couple of the group. They had 2 kids, a cozy house, and a relationship everyone admired. When Marcy got sick, it hit all of us hard. Gina was practically living at their place, helping out while John juggled work and the kids. And then when Marcy passed, man, it shattered John. We all tried to be there for him, especially Gina. She was his rock. Or so I thought. A few months after the funeral, Gina started acting off. She'd get defensive when I asked where she'd been, always on her phone, and brushing me off when I brought it up. I thought maybe she was just stressed, you know? Grief does weird things to people. Then one night, we were sitting on the couch. I was half watching some Netflix show when she hit me with, "Henry, can we talk?" My stomach dropped. Nothing good ever comes after that question. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I need to tell you something. John and we had a thing in college." I blinked, trying to process. Wait, what? She sighed like she was annoyed at me for not already knowing. We dated before he got Marcy pregnant. It was serious. For me, at least. I just stared at her. Okay, and... Her eyes welled up with fake tears. I know they were fake now, but at that moment, I felt bad for her. Idiot. She whispered, "John wants to explore things again. And I'm considering it." I swear my heart stopped. "You're what?" She reached for my hand, acting all sweet. "I don't want a divorce, Henry. I love you. But I love John too. I was thinking, maybe we could make this work? Share me." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I thought I was hallucinating. Share you? Gina, this isn't a Netflix series. What the hell are you talking about? Her face hardened so fast it gave me whiplash. You're being selfish, Henry. John's been through so much. I need to be there for him. Don't you care about him? And that's when I realized this wasn't just grief or stress. Gina wasn't asking for permission. She was telling me what was going to happen. And that was just the beginning. I don't know how long I just sat there, staring at her. My mind was racing, but all I could manage was, "So, you've already decided?" She rolled her eyes, like I was asking the dumbest question ever. "I haven't done anything yet, Henry. I'm just thinking about it." Yet. That word stuck with me. I asked, "So what, you just suddenly remembered you loved John after all these years?" She sighed, super dramatic, like I was exhausting her. "It's not sudden. It never really went away. But I chose you, didn't I? I married you. Chosen me. Like I was some backup option." I tried to stay calm, but my voice cracked. "So what now? You're gonna sneak around with him while I just sit here and wait for my turn?" Her tone changed real quick. "I'm trying to be honest with you, Henry. Most women would just cheat behind your back, but I'm giving you a choice." Choice? What choice? Agree to share my wife or lose her completely? I got up, pacing the room, running my hands through my hair. "Does John even know you're talking to me about this?" Her face twitched. That's when I knew she was lying. Of course he does. We've discussed everything. But something about the way she said it didn't sit right with me. "Yeah." I challenged. "Then let's call him. Right now. Let's see what John has to say." Her eyes widened, just for a second. "It's late, Henry. Don't be ridiculous." Bingo. I didn't push it that night, but I knew she hadn't told him anything. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could hear was her voice saying, "Share me." And every time I opened them, I saw her lying next to me like nothing happened. The next morning, she acted like the conversation never existed. "Want me to make breakfast?" I shook my head. "No, I'm good." She kissed my cheek like everything was fine and left for work. But I wasn't about to sit around waiting for her to ruin my life. I texted John. "Hey man. Can we talk? In person. Just us." He replied almost immediately. "Of course. My place at 7. I didn't tell Gina. She didn't need to know. Not yet. But I was about to find out that she wasn't the only one keeping secrets. All day, my mind was spinning. What if John really did want Gina back? What if he'd been playing the grieving widower while sneaking behind my back? I mean, I trusted the guy, but after what Gina dropped on me, trust wasn't exactly in my vocabulary anymore. By the time I pulled up to John's house that evening, my hands were sweating, and my heart was racing. I didn't even know what I was hoping for. An explanation? An apology? Anything but confirmation that my wife was about to toss me aside for her old flame. John opened the door, and man, he looked rough. Eyes bloodshot, hair a mess, like he hadn't slept in days. Grief, sure. But something else was off. "Hey Henry," he said, forcing a smile. "Everything okay?" I stepped inside, cutting straight to the point. "Gina told me everything." His face froze. "Everything?" "Yeah," I nodded, watching his reaction. "About you two in college. About, now." He rubbed his face with both hands, groaning. "I'm so sorry, man. I never meant for this to happen." I felt my stomach drop. "So it's true? You want her back?" John shook his head furiously. "No. God, no. Henry, I would never do that to you." I blinked. "Then why did Gina say?" "She's lying," he interrupted. "Listen, we did date in college, yeah. It ended when Marcy got pregnant, and I loved Marcy more than anything. Gina, she never really got over it." I sat down, trying to piece it together. "So you don't want her?" He laughed bitterly. "Henry, I'm barely keeping it together after losing Marcy. Gina's been helping me with the kids, but that's it. If she told you I want to rekindle something, she's lying to you." I stared at him. Why would she lie? John leaned back, sighing. "I don't know. But I've noticed, she's been acting weird lately. Possessive. Jealous. Even of Marcy. And Marcy's gone." It hit me like a truck. Gina wasn't being honest. She wasn't torn between two loves, she was obsessed. With John. With what they could have had. And now, with Marcy gone, she thought she had another shot. I asked John one last question. "Has she tried anything with you?" He looked guilty, hesitating before answering. "She kissed me once. A few weeks ago." I pushed her away. I felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. My wife kissed another man, our friend, and still had the nerve to ask me to share her? "Henry," John said softly, "I swear I didn't want this." I thought she'd let it go. I nodded, numb. "Thanks for telling me." But the worst part? This wasn't even close to the end. Driving home from John's place, my mind was a mess. So Gina lied, big time. Not only did she twist the whole story, but she made me believe John was in on it. And that kiss? I couldn't stop thinking about it. When I walked through the door, there she was, all smiles like nothing happened. "Hey babe. How was your night?" I played it cool. "Fine. Just went for a drive." She leaned in to kiss me, but I pulled back. "We need to talk." Her smile faded. "About what?" I stared at her. "About John." Her face paled for a second before she recovered. "What about him?" "I know you lied, Gina," I said quietly. "John told me everything." Her eyes flickered with panic. What did he say?" "That you kissed him," I replied. "And that he pushed you away." Her mouth opened and closed like she was trying to find the right words. "Henry, it wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" I snapped. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been lying through your teeth." She crossed her arms, defensive. "Okay, fine. I kissed him. But it didn't mean anything. I was just confused." "Confused?" I repeated, laughing bitterly. "Confused enough to ask me to share you with him?" She groaned. "I was trying to be honest with you." "No, Gina," I shot back. "You were trying to manipulate me." That's when she lost it. "I gave up everything for you, Henry. I could have had John, a perfect life, but I chose you. And what do I get? a boring marriage and a husband who doesn't excite me anymore. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. So this is my fault now? She threw her hands up. Maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't be looking elsewhere. I couldn't even respond. I just left. Grabbed my keys and drove off, not knowing where I was going. I ended up at Ben and Liz's place, our other friends from the group. I needed to talk to someone who wasn't involved in this twisted mess. When Liz opened the door and saw my face, she immediately knew something was wrong. Henry? What's going on? I sighed. It's Gina. I sat down with them and spilled everything. The kiss, the lies, the whole sharing nonsense. Liz's eyes widened in shock, but Ben just nodded. Like he wasn't surprised. I noticed and asked, "What? What is it?" He hesitated, looking at Liz, then back at me. "There's something you don't know, Henry. About Gina." My heart pounded in my chest. "What?" Ben took a deep breath and said, "This isn't the first time she's done something like this." I just stared at Ben. "What do you mean, not the first time?" Liz shot him a glare. "Ben, we don't know for sure." "Yes, we do," Ben interrupted. "Henry deserves to know." I leaned forward, my chest tight. "Know what?" Ben rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding my eyes. "A couple years ago, there were rumors. Gina and some guy from her office." I blinked, trying to process. "Rumors." Liz chimed in, softer this time. "We didn't want to believe it, Henry. And when we asked Gina about it, she got defensive. Said people were just jealous of her, making stuff up." "Who was the guy?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Ben hesitated. "Some manager. Chris, I think." Chris. I knew that name. Gina used to mention him all the time. How funny he was, how much she respected him. She stopped bringing him up a while back, though. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice cracking. Liz sighed. "We didn't have proof, Henry. And we didn't want to ruin your marriage over gossip." Ben nodded. "We thought if it was true, you'd find out eventually. And if it wasn't, we didn't want to hurt you." I leaned back, my mind spinning. So Gina had been lying long before John came into the picture. How many more secrets was she hiding? I thanked them and left, but instead of heading home, I parked down the street from my own house and called Gina's old coworker, Rachel. She and Gina were close once, but they had a falling out. I never knew why. Rachel picked up, surprised. "Henry? Hey, what's up?" I didn't waste time. "Rachel, I need to ask you something. Did Gina ever have something going on with Chris at work?" There was silence on the other end. Then Rachel whispered, "She didn't tell you?" My stomach sank. "So it's true." Rachel sighed. "Look, I don't want to stir up drama, but, yeah, they were messing around for months. She swore she ended it before you found out." I gripped the steering wheel tightly. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I wanted to," she admitted. "But Gina, she threatened to tell everyone I was sleeping with my married boss." Which wasn't true, but I didn't want to risk it. I thanked her and hung up, my hands shaking. Gina hadn't just lied. She blackmailed people to keep her secret safe. I sat there in my car, realizing my marriage wasn't just cracked, it was shattered. And I had no idea how to pick up the pieces. But one thing was clear, I couldn't trust Gina anymore. Sat in my car for what felt like hours, trying to wrap my head around everything. Gina didn't just betray me, she built our entire marriage on lies. And blackmail? I never thought she was capable of that. By the time I walked through the front door, it was late. Gina was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, acting like nothing had happened. She barely looked up. "Where have you been?" I didn't answer right away. I just stood there, staring at her, feeling this mix of anger and sadness I couldn't even put into words. Finally, I said, "How long were you going to keep lying to me?" She froze, her phone still in her hand. "What are you talking about?" "Chris," I said quietly. Her face drained of color. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter?" I shot back. "You cheated on me. Long before all this John nonsense. And you lied. Over and over." She stood up, defensive. "It was a mistake, Henry. I ended it. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything?" I laughed bitterly. You blackmailed Rachel to keep it quiet. That sounds like it meant something. Her eyes narrowed. So what? Are you going to leave me over something that happened years ago? I shook my head. It's not just that, Gina. It's everything. The lies. The manipulation. Asking me to share you with John when he didn't even want you. I don't even know who you are anymore. She scoffed, crossing her arms. I'm the same person I've always been. Maybe you just never really knew me. That hurt more than I expected. Maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't know her at all. I need space, I said finally. I can't do this. She rolled her eyes. Fine. Go have your little meltdown. But you'll come back. You always do. I didn't say another word. I just packed a bag and left. I wasn't sure where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay in that house with her any longer. As I drove away, my phone buzzed. A text from John. Hey, I found something you need to see. Can you come over? I had no idea what else he could possibly tell me, but something in my gut told me this wasn't over yet. Not even close. I pulled up to John's house, my heart pounding. What else could there possibly be? Wasn't it enough that my wife had lied, cheated, and manipulated her way through our marriage? John opened the door, looking tense. Come in, he said quietly. I followed him to the kitchen. On the table was a laptop, open to an email. He gestured for me to sit. I wasn't sure if I should show you this, but you deserve to know. I leaned in, reading the screen. It was an email from Gina. Sent just a week after Marcy's funeral. John, I'm here for you. I always have been. We were meant to be together, and now that Marcy's gone, we have a second chance. Henry doesn't have to know. We can figure this out. Just say the word, and I'm yours. My stomach churned. She wasn't just exploring her feelings recently. She'd been planning this from the start. I looked at John, feeling sick. You didn't tell me? He sighed. I ignored her. I thought, maybe grief was making her say crazy things. I didn't want to believe Gina would actually do this. Does she know you have this? I asked. He shook his head. No. She probably thinks I deleted it. I sat back, my mind racing. She lied about everything. Even the sharing thing was probably just her way of keeping me around while she chased after you. John nodded. I'm sorry, Henry. I really am. I clenched my fists, anger boiling inside me. She's been playing me this whole time. John looked at me seriously. What are you going to do? I exhaled sharply. I don't know. But she doesn't get to win. As I drove back to my temporary spot at Ben and Liz's, one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let Gina manipulate me anymore. But Gina? She wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I woke up to a dozen missed calls from Gina. Texts too. Henry, come home. Let's talk. You're being dramatic. I told you it was a mistake. Ignoring me won't fix anything. You're going to regret walking away from this marriage. No apologies. No remorse. Just her usual manipulation. I ignored her. But then, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Henry? It's Rachel. Rachel. Gina's ex-coworker, the one she blackmailed. Hey, I said, surprised. What's going on? Her voice was shaky. I thought you should know. Gina's been asking around. She's trying to find out who told you about Chris. I think she's planning something. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Of course she is. Rachel hesitated. And there's more. She's been telling people you're having an affair. I laughed bitterly. What? She told some of her friends that you left because you're seeing someone else, Rachel explained. She's trying to get ahead of whatever you might say. I couldn't believe it. Gina was already spinning the story to make me the bad guy. Thanks for telling me, I said. I'll handle it. After we hung up, I realized something. Gina wasn't going to let me leave quietly. She was already rewriting the narrative. If I didn't act fast, I'd be the villain in everyone's eyes. But what Gina didn't realize, I had nothing left to lose. And that made me dangerous. I sat in Ben and Liz's guest room, staring at the ceiling. Gina was already spinning her web of lies, trying to control the story before I even had a chance to breathe. Fine. Two can play that game. I texted John. I need that email. Within minutes, he sent it to me. I stared at Gina's words, feeling my blood boil all over again. But I wasn't going to act on anger. I needed to be smart. First, I called Liz. Hey, can you do me a favor? I asked. Of course, she replied. What's up? Can you reach out to Gina? Just talk to her. See what she's saying. Liz agreed, and I waited. About an hour later, she called back, sounding shocked. Henry, she whispered, Gina's telling everyone you've been cheating with Rachel. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so typical. Of course she is. That's not all, Liz added. She said you left because you're in love with her. My jaw clenched. Rachel? Really? Liz sighed. Yeah. And she's convincing. She's crying to everyone, saying you broke her heart. I exhaled sharply. Thanks, Liz. I'll handle it. I hung up and immediately called Rachel. Guess what? I said dryly. According to Gina, we're having an affair. Rachel groaned. Are you kidding me? Nope, I replied. But I have an idea. Rachel hesitated. What kind of idea? Let's give Gina exactly what she's afraid of, I said with a grin. Let's make her lies come true. Rachel laughed. Henry, are you suggesting we pretend to date? Exactly, I said. If she wants to play dirty, let's show her what dirty really looks like. Rachel was quiet for a moment, then chuckled. You know what? I'm in. Gina wanted a fight? She was about to get one. The plan wasn't complicated, but it was risky. Rachel and I would accidentally be seen together in public, just enough to fuel Gina's paranoia. If she wanted to play the victim, I'd let her, until I exposed everything. The next day, Rachel and I grabbed coffee at a cafe Gina loved. It didn't take long before someone spotted us. By the time I got back to Ben and Liz's, my phone was blowing up with texts from mutual friends. Dude, are you really seeing Rachel? Wow, Henry. Didn't expect this from you. Man, Gina's devastated. What are you doing? I didn't reply. Not yet. That evening, Gina called. I let it ring. Then another call. And another. Finally, I picked up. Wow, Henry, she spat. Rachel? Really? I stayed calm. You said I was cheating, Gina. Thought I'd make it true. She laughed bitterly. You're pathetic. Everyone knows now. Good, I said. Because soon, everyone will know about Chris. And John. And that email you sent him right after Marcy died. Silence. You don't have proof, she whispered, but her voice shook. Oh, I do, I replied. And I'll show everyone. You wouldn't, she hissed. You'll ruin me. I chuckled. You already ruined yourself, Gina. She hung up. I knew Gina wouldn't go down quietly. But I wasn't backing off either. This wasn't over yet. The next morning, I woke up to chaos. My phone was flooded with notifications. Gina had posted a long emotional message on social media. I never thought I'd have to share this, but my husband, Henry, broke my heart. I gave him everything, and he threw it away for another woman. I'm devastated, but I hope he finds happiness, even if it's not with me. Please respect my privacy during this painful time. The comments were brutal. Stay strong, Gina. Henry's a jerk, you deserve better. Wow, cheating with Rachel? Low man. Gina played the victim card perfectly. I sat there, reading every comment, feeling my blood boil. She was turning everyone against me while pretending to be the hurt one. But I wasn't about to let her win. I called John. I need that email to go public. He hesitated. Henry, are you sure? I'm sure, I said firmly. She wants to play dirty? Let's play. That afternoon, John posted the email on his social media with a simple caption. Since people are curious about the truth. It didn't take long before people started piecing it together. Gina's tearful act didn't hold up against her own words begging John for a secret relationship. The comments flipped fast. Wait, Gina wanted to cheat with John? So she's not the victim? Wow. Henry deserved better. Then, I got a text from Gina. Just 3 words. You'll regret this. I didn't respond. But I knew Gina well enough to know this wasn't the end. I just didn't know how far she'd go. It didn't take long for Gina's perfect image to start cracking. Mutual friends started reaching out, not to criticize me, but to apologize. Henry, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Man, Gina really fooled us all. I can't believe she did that to you. Stay strong, bro. But the one text that caught me off guard was from Ben. Henry, we need to talk. There's something I didn't tell you. I drove straight to Ben and Liz's house, my chest tight with anxiety. What else could there possibly be? Ben opened the door, looking guilty. I didn't know how to tell you this before, he started, leading me inside. Tell me what? I asked, already exhausted from all the lies I'd uncovered. He sighed, sitting down. Last year, Gina made a move on me. My heart stopped. What? Ben nodded. It was at Liz's birthday party. Everyone had gone home except me and Gina. She was drunk, or at least that's what I thought. She started flirting, then tried to kiss me. I stared at him, disbelief washing over me. Did you tell Liz? Yeah, he admitted. We agreed not to say anything because, well, we thought it was just a drunken mistake. But now? I don't think it was. I leaned back, running my hands through my hair. Gina didn't just cheat. She tried to hook up with one of my best friends, while I was probably in the next room. I'm sorry, Henry, Ben said quietly. I should have told you sooner. I nodded slowly. Thanks for telling me now. As I drove back, my mind was spinning. How many more secrets were going to come out? And how far would Gina go to cover them up? I was about to find out, sat in my car outside Ben and Liz's place for a long time, just staring at the steering wheel. Every time I thought I'd reached the bottom of this mess, another secret pulled me deeper. Gina had kissed Ben, one of my closest friends, and I'd been completely clueless. I thought back to that night, Liz's birthday party. I remembered Gina acting weird afterward, picking fights over stupid things, and brushing me off when I asked what was wrong. Now it made sense. She wasn't upset with me, she was afraid I'd find out what she did. I drove around aimlessly for a while, my mind racing. I couldn't go back to Ben and Liz's right now, I needed to clear my head. So, I called Rachel. Hey, she answered softly. Everything okay? Not really, I admitted. Can we meet up? She agreed, and we met at a quiet park nearby. As soon as I saw her, I felt a strange sense of calm. She wasn't part of the group, not tied to all the memories Gina had ruined. What happened? She asked, sitting next to me on a bench. I told her about Ben's confession. She listened silently, shaking her head in disbelief. She really tried to kiss Ben? Rachel asked softly. Yeah, I muttered. I don't even know who I married anymore. Rachel sighed. I'm sorry, Henry. I really am. We sat there for a while, not saying much, just lost in our own thoughts. Finally, Rachel spoke up. So what's your plan? I shrugged. I don't know. Gina's already telling everyone I'm the bad guy. Even with the email, some people still believe her. Rachel tilted her head. Then maybe it's time to stop playing defense. I looked at her, confused. What do you mean? She smirked. Gina's great at spinning stories. But she can't handle being exposed. If you really want to end this, you need to show people who she really is. I thought about it for a moment. Rachel was right. I'd been reacting to Gina's moves instead of making my own. But if I was going to do this, I needed to be careful. Okay, I said finally. But how? Rachel thought for a moment. What if we let Gina expose herself? I raised an eyebrow. And how do we do that? Rachel grinned. Leave that to me. The next day, Rachel posted a picture of us on social media. Nothing too obvious, just the two of us sitting at the park laughing. The caption? Some people just get you. It didn't take long for Gina to notice. Within an hour, my phone lit up with a call from Gina. I didn't answer. Then a text. Really, Henry? This is how you want to play it? I ignored it. That night, Rachel called me. She messaged me. What did she say? I asked. She asked if we're serious, Rachel chuckled. I told her we're just seeing where things go. Nice, I grinned. She's losing it, isn't she? Oh, big time, Rachel replied. But here's the kicker, she asked me to meet for coffee. I sat up straight. Wait, what? Yeah, Rachel said. She wants to talk. Probably to warn me about you. I laughed bitterly. Sounds like her. Should I go? Rachel asked. I thought about it. Yeah. But record everything. The next afternoon, Rachel met Gina at a coffee shop. I waited anxiously for her call. When Rachel finally rang me, her voice was buzzing with excitement. Henry, you're not going to believe this. What happened? I asked eagerly. She went off, Rachel laughed. She told me you're emotionally unstable, that you're vindictive, and get this, she said you're dangerous. I rolled my eyes. Classic Gina. But, Rachel continued, she also slipped up. What do you mean? Rachel's voice turned serious. She admitted to the affair with Chris. She said, Henry never got over what happened with Chris, and now he's trying to ruin my life for one mistake. I blinked. She admitted it? Yep, Rachel confirmed. And I got it all recorded. I leaned back in my chair, feeling a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. We have her. Rachel chuckled. Yeah, we do. So, what now? I sighed, thinking it over. Now, we finish this. But even with all the proof we had, I knew Gina wasn't going down without a fight. And I was right. I sat there, my mind racing. We had the recording. Gina had admitted to the affair, and now it wasn't just my word against hers. But knowing Gina, she wouldn't just roll over and admit defeat. No, she'd fight tooth and nail to keep her image intact. Rachel's voice on the phone broke my thoughts. Henry, are you sure you want to go through with this? I sighed. I don't have a choice, Rachel. If I don't do this, she's going to keep dragging me through the mud. I'm done playing nice. Rachel hesitated. Okay. But be careful. Gina's unpredictable. She wasn't wrong. Gina had always been good at manipulating people, twisting the narrative to suit her. But this time, I had the upper hand. I just had to be smart about it. The next day, I reached out to John. I have proof. She admitted the affair to Rachel. John replied almost instantly. What's the plan? I thought about it. I needed to time this perfectly. If I exposed Gina too soon, she'd find a way to weasel out of it. But if I waited too long, she'd do more damage to my reputation. We wait, I texted back. Let her think she's winning. For the next few days, I played along. I didn't respond to Gina's calls or texts, but I also didn't retaliate. I wanted her to feel comfortable, to believe that she'd successfully isolated me from everyone. And it worked. She started posting more online, painting herself as the victim. Long, tearful posts about how heartbroken she was and how she never thought Henry would betray her like this. She even posted old pictures of us, captioning them with things like, I'll always cherish the memories, even if he doesn't. The comments poured in. Stay strong, Gina. Henry's a fool for letting you go. You deserve so much better, girl. It was infuriating, but I stayed quiet. I had to. Then one night, I got a text from Ben. Gina's at it again. She's telling people you cheated on her with Rachel while you were still married. I clenched my fists. Of course she was. Gina never knew when to stop. But then Ben added, she also said you were abusive. My blood ran cold. Abusive? That was a new low, even for her. I called Ben immediately. She's really saying that? Yeah, he confirmed. She told Liz that you used to control her and emotionally manipulate her. She even said you threatened her once. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She's making it up. I know, Ben replied. But people believe her, Henry. You need to do something. I hung up, furious. Gina wasn't just attacking my character, she was trying to destroy my life. If people believed I was abusive, my reputation would be ruined. Permanently. I called Rachel. We need to go public. Now. Rachel didn't even hesitate. I'm ready. The next morning, Rachel posted the recording. It wasn't subtle. She uploaded the full conversation with Gina, complete with captions highlighting the most damning parts. Gina admitting to the affair with Chris. Gina bragging about how easy it was to manipulate people. And worst of all, Gina laughing about how she could make anyone believe anything if she wanted to. The caption? The truth always comes out. It spread like wildfire. Within hours, people were sharing it everywhere. Gina's perfect image started to crumble. The comments flipped almost immediately. Wait, so Gina was the cheater? Wow, she really fooled us all. Poor Henry. Can't believe she put him through that. Gina tried to fight back. She posted a tearful video, claiming the recording was taken out of context and that Rachel edited it to make her look bad. But it didn't work. The damage was done. Then I posted my own message. I've stayed quiet for too long. Gina lied to me, cheated on me, and manipulated everyone around her. I tried to handle this privately, but she forced my hand. I'm done protecting someone who never protected me. The support flooded in. Ben called me, laughing. Dude, have you seen the comments? Everyone's on your side now. Yeah, I replied. But I'm not done yet. I knew Gina wouldn't give up easily, and I was right. That night, she showed up at my door. I opened it to see her standing there, eyes red from crying. Henry, can we talk? I crossed my arms. What's left to talk about? She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I scoffed. Really? Because it sure seemed like you did. She sat down on the couch, burying her face in her hands. I messed up, okay? I didn't want to lose everything. I leaned against the wall, watching her. So you decided to ruin me instead? She looked up, tears streaming down her face. I was scared. You were going to leave me, and I panicked. I shook my head. No, Gina. You weren't scared of losing me. You were scared of losing your image. Your control. She stood up, walking toward me. Henry, please. I still love you. I laughed bitterly. You don't love me, Gina. You love winning. She reached out to touch my face, but I stepped back. It's over. Her face twisted in anger. So that's it? After everything we've been through? I nodded. Yeah, that's it. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I sat down, exhaling deeply. It was over. Finally. Or so I thought. A week later, I got a call from John. You're not going to believe this, he said. What now? I asked, already exhausted. Gina. She's seeing Chris again. I blinked. Chris? Her old coworker. Yep, John confirmed. Apparently, they've been meeting up. I laughed. Of course they have. It didn't hurt anymore. Honestly, I felt relieved. Gina had always been about appearances, and now that she couldn't maintain hers, she'd run back to the one person who never cared about that. Rachel called me later that day. So, how are you feeling? I thought about it for a moment. Free, I said finally. For the first time in a long time, I feel free. She chuckled. Good. You deserve that. In the end, Gina didn't get the happy ending she wanted. She lost her friends, her reputation, and the control she craved so much. And me? I finally walked away from the chaos. Some people say revenge is about getting even. But for me, revenge was about taking back my life. And I did. The fallout from Gina's lies didn't settle overnight. Even after Rachel posted the recording, even after I shared my side of the story, there were still whispers, still people clinging to the idea that Gina was the victim. But honestly, I didn't care anymore. I had spent so long trying to defend myself, trying to prove my innocence, that when the dust finally started to settle, all I felt was tired, but also relieved. For the first time in months, I woke up without that knot in my chest, without the weight of Gina's manipulation pressing down on me. I was free, but freedom felt strange. Like I had been holding my breath for so long that I didn't even know how to breathe normally anymore. Ben and Liz invited me over that weekend. Liz hugged me tight when I walked in, whispering, "I'm proud of you," like I had just survived a war. And honestly, it felt like I had. We sat around the living room, laughing about dumb stuff like we used to before everything went to hell. For a moment, it felt normal. Until Ben leaned over and whispered, "Did you hear about Gina?" I sighed. "What now?" "She lost her job," Ben said quietly. "Apparently, someone sent her boss the recording." I blinked. "Wait, what? Liz nodded. Yeah, Rachel told me. Her company has a no-drama policy or something. They didn't want the bad press. I should have felt bad. I really should have. But all I could think was, karma. Guess she finally got what was coming to her, I muttered. But Gina? She wasn't done. A week later, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the best of me. Hello. Henry, came Gina's voice. We need to talk. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. We have nothing to talk about, Gina. Please, she begged. Just one conversation. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at a diner we used to go to when we were dating. Nostalgia's a funny thing. It makes you remember the good times and forget the bad. But as soon as I saw her sitting there, nervously stirring her coffee, all the bad came rushing back. I sat down, crossing my arms. What do you want, Gina? She looked up at me with those wide, tear-filled eyes that once made me melt. Not anymore. I'm sorry, she whispered. I almost laughed. Sorry? Now you're sorry. She nodded. I messed up, Henry. I know I did. I lost everything because I couldn't let go of control. I leaned back, watching her carefully. Is that what this is? An apology tour because you lost your job? She shook her head quickly. No. It's not about that. I mean, yes, that hurt, but losing you hurt more. I stared at her, trying to find even a shred of sincerity. Gina, you didn't lose me. You threw me away. She winced, tears streaming down her face. I don't know why I did it. I guess. I was scared. Scared that you'd leave me someday, so I pushed first. I sighed. And John? Chris? Ben? She swallowed hard. I wanted control, Henry. Over everything. And when I felt like I was losing it, I did stupid things. For a moment, just a moment, I felt a twinge of sympathy. But then I remembered the sleepless nights, the lies, the humiliation. I can't forgive you, I said firmly. And honestly, I don't want to. She nodded slowly. I get it. I needed you to know that I'm not the person I was with you. I chuckled bitterly. You're exactly the person you were with me. You just don't have me to manipulate anymore. She flinched like I had slapped her. Goodbye, Henry, she whispered, grabbing her bag and walking out. I sat there for a long time after she left, wondering if I had made the right call. But deep down, I knew I had. Rachel called me later that night. So, how did it go? Exactly how you'd expect, I replied. Tears, apologies, the whole 9 yards. Rachel chuckled softly. And you? I told her I was done, I said. For real this time. I'm proud of you, she said quietly. We sat in silence for a moment before she added, You know, you deserve to be happy, Henry. I'm working on it, I replied honestly. The next few weeks were quiet. Gina stopped trying to contact me. John and I started rebuilding our friendship, though there were still moments when things felt awkward. Ben and Liz were still in my corner, and Rachel? She became someone I leaned on more than I ever expected. One night, Rachel and I were sitting on my couch, watching some dumb reality show, when she turned to me and asked, So, what now? I shrugged. I don't know. Therapy, maybe. Lots of pizza. She laughed. Sounds like a solid plan. Then she added softly, You know, not every woman is like Gina. I nodded. Yeah. I'm starting to believe that. She smiled, leaning her head on my shoulder. Good. Months passed, and slowly, life felt normal again. Gina moved out of town. Last I heard, she was working some dead-end job and dating some guy who, ironically, looked a lot like me. John found someone new, and I could see how happy he was without the weight of Marcy's death holding him down. Ben and Liz had their first baby, and I became the honorary uncle who spoiled her rotten. And me? I took my time healing. I learned that it's okay to be angry, to feel betrayed, but it's not okay to let those feelings control you. Revenge felt good, but forgiveness? That felt even better. Not for Gina. She didn't deserve it. But for me. I forgave myself for staying too long. For ignoring the red flags. For loving someone who didn't deserve it. One day, Rachel asked me, Do you think you'll ever love someone again? I smiled, squeezing her hand. Maybe. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it.